Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all well. My name is Tanner Dagenais, and I'm the host of Self-Sabotage Solutions. On this podcast, it's my opportunity and my pleasure to be able to share everything I know about self-sabotage so that you can overcome self-sabotage in your life. And so today, I'm going to be sharing something about um, really making this next year the best one yet, because I'm going to be sharing 10 things that you should know if you're going to make 2023 the best year that you've come across so far. And these things are all things you can use to apply to your life and to really understand, how you can start to move forward in life, especially if you are self-sabotaging. So, very excited to share this all information for you guys. Make sure to stay to the end because all these tips can be very, very helpful. And let's dive right on in. So, number one, a part of your mind seeks the familiar. So this is why habits are, a thing. This is why change can actually be difficult. And what part of the mind am I talking about? Well, I'm sure you guys have probably heard me talk about it before, but this is the subconscious part of your mind. And really, there's two main parts of the mind that I want to be talking about today. The conscious part of your mind, which is the part of your mind that's responsible for long-term thinking. It has your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. It has your critical thinking. So it's part of the mind that many of us think that we're operating from most of the time. However, many of us are sadly mistaken, and I was super surprised to find out that actually many of us are operating from our subconscious mind. About 95% of our daily thoughts and actions actually come from our subconscious mind. And so that's why I'm going to be talking about this part of the mind today, because this part of the mind is very not well known. It's not taught about in school. Many of us don't really understand how it works. So I'm going to be shining some light on it. So hopefully you can start to understand why you might be taking the actions you are, why you might be sabotaging yourself when you are trying to start eating healthier, when you are trying to do your New Year's resolutions, like going to the work out at a gym, right? And you buy that gym membership and never go. Why why when you start to eat healthier, you all of a sudden reach for the big can of or the big tub of ice cream, or you go out and get a bunch of pizza, or you go to McDonald's or something, right? And you start to undo all that progress you just made. There's a reason for it. It's not because you are a broken individual. It's actually just the way a part of our mind works, especially with the way society is right now. So we'll talk more about that because it's super important. But the subconscious part of your mind is your short-term thinking part of your mind. This part of the mind you can think of, it activates and it's mostly dominant when we are in a flight or flight response mode, which means when we have a high cortisol levels in our body, when there's danger involved, when we are fearful, this part of our mind is super active because we need this part of our mind to actually make quick decisions for us, to not think logically, just to move and get out of the way. Like if a car is coming or if a tiger is coming at us, to either stand our ground and fight or to run and flight is really what this part of our mind is known for. And this part of your mind um, doesn't think logically, right? It thinks very short term. So that's why, many of us are actually acting from our subconscious mind most of the time. And so that's why so many of us have a hard time with long term thinking. That's why so many of us are stuck in that short term gratification cycles. And I think a lot of our society is kind of built around that short term gratification, right? We have those, take this pill and you'll lose all this weight. Do this and you'll instantly do this, right? Take this pill and you'll cure your disease. But unfortunately, that's not the way things work. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that the pharmaceutical industry is just a sham. Unfortunately, as much as I don't want to say that, because it would be nice if we actually had a lot of the scientists and a lot of our government facilities and things like that working in our favor. But unfortunately, it's been we've had examples of this time and time again where it just is not. It's not working in our favors. It's really a sick care system. They don't plan to keep you healthy. They plan to keep you perpetually sick. And you can tell this because they don't ever address the root cause of the problems. And that's a big, big important thing, is that we need to address the root cause of the problems. Sorry, I got to get a little tied on a side tangent there, but I think it's important for people to understand, because we'll be talking about health and why health is so important in regard to self-sabotage. So Um, but yeah, this part of your mind, the subconscious, it's seeking the familiar. And the reason why it does this is because its main job is to keep us safe. So when we're in that, instance where a car is coming, it's going to try to keep us safe. We're in that instance when a tiger's there, it's going to try to fight or run away and keep us safe. But what happens when the situation is a little bit different, and it's not like an immediate danger thing, it's like a perceived danger. Well, our subconscious mind still does its best to try to help us keep us safe, and usually that's by fitting in with our surroundings, because it knows that when in a big society, in a big group of people, whoever's part of the larger tribe, part of the larger group, is usually the safest, because there is safety in numbers, there is safety in a large tribe. So this part of your mind understands this. So it will try to mimic, and that's why humans are actually imitative learners. And we'll be talking about that on the third thing. But that's why, that's why humans are imitative learners, because we are focused on trying to fit in with the group. So if you ever heard the phrase, nature follows the path of least resistance, nature follows the path of least resistance. And it always does. And that's kind of the way our subconscious mind works. Wherever the path of least resistance works is where it will usually try to take us. And usually the path of least resistance is what everyone else is doing. Well, in this society, what most people are doing is poisoning themselves. They're drinking themselves into early, they're literally attacking their best selves. They're drinking, they're smoking, they're taking drugs, they're eating garbage food. And some know that, some don't even know it. Some know it and just ignore it. They're taking toxic pharmaceuticals. Literally, if you look at society, it's in a downward trend. We are the most advanced technology wise. We have the most advanced medicine. We have the most advanced, pretty much everything you can think of that we've ever had. But yet, we have the most disease, depression, anxiety, obesity. Everything's skyrocketing. And I think it was important that we address that sooner than later, because really, if we don't, then things are going to get really bad for us. And there's a big reason why many of us are just going along with it, because we mimic the larger tribe. We mimic what authority figures say. And right now, a lot of the authority figures are just spouting this nonsense that this is the way things are. This is how it should be. And that the human body is essentially not capable of protecting us, not capable of keeping us healthy, and that it's not a fault in the system, it's a fault in the human design. And I think that's just completely and totally false. So we seek these familiar habits, we seek these familiar things because everyone else is doing, because it's the safest thing to do. And it doesn't matter if it's illogical. Remember, this part of your mind, the subconscious, is not logical. It is illogical. It is just trying to keep us safe. So it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It doesn't matter if it's going to lead you into an early grave. It doesn't matter if you're going to be depressed, broke, diseased. It doesn't matter, because the subconscious mind doesn't think of it that way. That's your conscious mind. Okay, so I think we understand that part, that we seek the familiar. And and I kind of want to touch on this. We seek the familiar based on the things that we see through our senses and feel through our senses. So the things we see, the things we hear, the things we feel, like emotions or energies, because we do very much feel those things. Those things do affect us. Like, if you ever walked into a room and it was a very like someone had just died, or like someone was getting yelled at, and you feel that negative energy in there. Or the opposite, if you ever walk into a room and you feel like everyone's really happy, we can pick up on those energies, right? The things that we eat, like, these things all affect us, right? And our subconscious mind is paying attention to what we are exposing ourselves to, what our environment is like, the things we're hearing, the things we're watching, the things we're telling ourselves. And that brings me to my next point. Number 2 thing you can do, or that you should know if you're going to make 2023 the best one yet. And really, what I'm talking about is the thoughts and words you speak have a major impact on your life. Many people undervalue the impact that the words and thoughts that you speak really have on you. All people, may kind of know it on some point, but they kind of just brush it off. And, negative thinking is so common within our society. I know it was super common in my life until I started to address it. And many people feel like they don't have the ability to change their thinking. And that's because really the reason why that is because the subconscious mind, remember how I said it takes about 95% of your daily thoughts and actions? Well, the subconscious mind, its belief is that in this kind of society is that the safest thing to do is to attack yourself, is to beat yourself up. And so that's why some of us have these negative thoughts. And, so many of us have been saying these negative things to ourselves for so long that they become habits. They become essentially programs, which I like to call them. And what a program is, because you'll hear me reference this a couple of times, these programs are really just like a computer program. So you can imagine your subconscious mind as like a supercomputer, because that's essentially what it is. And it's a giant data storage device. And it has different programs on it, just like a computer normally would. So you can run Microsoft Office, you can run Internet Explorer, you can run whatever, some video games or whatever kind, iTunes, whatever kind of program that you have on it. But, in our lives, it's kind of similar where we have programs to know how to drive a car. Think about it. When you first had to learn how to drive a car, it was not very easy, right? You had to actually pay attention. You had to do all the stuff. You had to learn what buttons go where. You had to learn, oh, I flick this down and it turns on the windshield wipers. I flick this up, it turns on my signals. I move this stick here and it puts into drive, right? This left paddle is for for brake, right? It's for go. Like, we had to learn that. And now it's just second nature where you can get in the car and not even think about really what you're doing, consciously think about it. You're thinking about the things you're going to be doing throughout the day. You're thinking about what you're going to be eating, what you're going to be doing at work, right? You're not thinking about usually focusing on, oh, I got to do this. I got to put this in drive. I got to do this. It just comes naturally to you because we have that program built. And it's just like brushing your teeth, riding a bike. But we also have programs for negative thinking. We have programs for unhealthy eating. We have programs for toxic relationships and breaking up our own relationships and attacking our partners. We have programs for attacking ourselves, for drinking alcohol. We have all these different kinds of programs in us, and so it's really important we address these. And a big part of where these programs come from is the things that we are telling ourselves, the things that we are saying to ourselves. And so when we start to address our thoughts and the words of what we say, we can actually start to create new blueprints, new programs for our life. And that is so powerful because, the thing is, we are all conscious individuals. So even though we operate from our subconscious mind for a lot of the time, we can start to become more conscious by literally focus on it and becoming more aware of what we're saying. So if we are analyzing the things that are coming out of our mouth, if we're analyzing the things that we're saying, the things that we're thinking, we can start to catch when we're being negative, and we can start to address those things and replace them with something better. We can start to delete those things, after we address them, and we can start to replace them with something better. And that's the most amazing thing, because once you understand this, you can start to take back your life. You can start literally to switch your life around and start to reprogram your subconscious mind, which is really what I teach people, because it has made a fantastic, amazing difference in my life, right? Because for instance, I'll give you a little personal story. I was always that kid, and I think many of us are, for public speaking, where I would get up and I'd be sweaty. I would, stutter. I would go, I would have my heart beating, thumping down my chest. I would literally be dreading that I'll be sitting there in class when we're doing presentations, oh no, don't call my name, don't call my name. And they call my name. Oh no. Right. And then I had to go speak up in front of the class. That's literally who I was. And now it's funny because I'm doing podcasts. And I remember the reason why I started to do a podcast is my wife said she thinks I should do a podcast. I remember the first time she said that to me, and I said, "Are you kidding me? I don't want to do that." And it was all in my mindset. It was all the things I was telling myself and the words that was coming about me, is the thoughts that were coming through my head that were literally holding me back. Because once I started to address my mindset, once I started to address the things I was telling myself, oh man, I can do public speaking so easily now. And really, it's just changing your mindset. That's really what it is. Because the things we tell yourself, what follows I am follows you in life. And that's really what it is. That's why affirmations are powerful. That's why being conscious of what you're saying and addressing those things can really change your life in so many ways. So I think that's really important to talk about because so many of us ignore that. So many of us ignore that fact that the things that we say have an impact on our life. Like we just blow it off, or we're not even paying attention. Like we just have these negative thoughts, and we just think it's normal. Like I thought that was normal in my life for so long. So if you start to address the things that you're saying, start to address the words that you speak, you can start to change your life around. And I highly recommend you looking more to that. I have a video where I explain how like the do's and don'ts for affirmations. And affirmations, if you don't know what they are, they're really just speaking with intention and starting to speak about the things that you want in your life and saying it in the present tense. So if you are interested in that, it's a great tool to start, reprogramming your subconscious mind for success and for love and for all the good things. So I'll put that in the links in the description down below. So make sure to check that out. It's been very popular, and it's been having a lot of good feedback with it. And I use affirmations every single day in my life, and so does my family. So number 3, we'll move on to the third thing you can do to make 2023 the best one yet. And it's the thing that you need to know, that humans are imitative learners. I kind of alluded to this on the first step, right? We mimic those around us. So have you ever had that experience where you have a friend who says this phrase all the time, right? And then you're not with him, or you are with him, and that thought comes into your head, right? I've had that so many times. Or you watch a movie all the time and you have that thought reoccur in your head. Well, that's because we are imitative learners. And the big reason why we are imitative learners is, one, when we are kids, that's the best way for us to survive, the best way for us to fit in, the best way for us to learn what we need to learn, right? Imagine being a kid. You can't take care of yourself. You can't feed yourself. You can't drive a car. You can't work a job. And so you need to learn how to fit in with society. You need to learn how to fit in with your parents. And that's really what being an imitative learner is all about. So have you ever heard like the 5 people, the 5 closest people to you that you hang out with, that you spend your time with, is who you're going to become? And that actually has a lot of truth to it, because the people we do spend our time with have a big influence over our lives. If they think very negatively, we can start thinking more negatively. I've had that effect. And even just people that you don't spend all your time with, like people that I go to work with. If I was like there over, I had to work last Saturday before Christmas, and so many people were so negative that day. They were saying like, "Oh, I'd rather be here anywhere plus here, anywhere but here." And I heard that at least like 20 plus times, and that started appearing in my head, and I had to delete that. I had to be conscious of it and start to change it, because did I necessarily want to be spending my time there? No, but I was grateful to be able to make that money. I was grateful to have a job. And so that's the kind of mindset that I want, because, if you start to have that mindset where I'd rather be anywhere but here. I'd rather be anywhere over here. I hate this place. You are going to have a bad time. You're going to have a bad experience, and you got to be there anyway. So might as well enjoy it. But that is how we are imitative learners. So unfortunately, that is something that is important. And I think we also need to address that it doesn't matter if it's a TV show, if it's a movie, if it's social media, if it's TikTok, right? If it's this podcast, we all learn we all have imitative learning. Doesn't matter if it's in real life or on the screen, we will imitate those things. So if you are constantly watching shows like Shameless, like Grey's Anatomy, shows like Friends, shows that where they have a lot of problems with their lives, a lot of problems with their relationships, a lot of problems with their jobs, a lot of problems just in general, where they're constantly drinking, where they're constantly attacking their best selves, you're going to start mimicking that. And that's really important to note, because you are literally programming yourself. There's a reason why they call it TV programming, right? You are programming yourself. to act a certain way. And they call it entertainment, but what's if you break down entertainment, you get entrainment. You are training yourself to act a certain way. And it's so important that we know this and we start to address this, because it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's fiction. Those things still affect you. You may not always act out in the exact same thing the TV show does, but our subconscious mind kind of puts pieces together and says, "Oh, they did this. They did this. I saw someone else doing this. This is becoming a safer thing to do within society. If I saw this happen all the time." So the more times we see something, the safer the option that becomes. The more likely we're going to mimic it if we see it happen many, many times. And we get many more if we hear it, if we see it. If we have thoughts about it, those things all really deeply affect us. So the fourth thing you need to know if you're gonna make 2023 the best one yet, is that goals are achieved through actions you take every day. And I think a big reason why many of us, don't actually achieve our goals is that we get discouraged. We're focusing on these big goals like losing 20 pounds, like gaining a bunch of muscle, like becoming a millionaire, getting away from our 9 to 5 job, like having a successful side business or our own successful business. And we forget to realize that you can't get to those things without taking small individual actions. And we're not giving ourselves the recognition we deserve when we complete those small actions, and we're not allowing ourselves to feel good about those and focusing on just the small actions, because it's okay to have those big goals, right? But at the end of the day, you don't want to focus on the big goal. You want to focus on the small individual daily actions. Because for instance, like let's say this is a good one. Let's say you're trying to break a rock open, right? And you have a pickaxe. Your main goal is to break open that rock, but the things you need to do to break open that rock is hit it probably a bunch of times, right? And so many of us will hit the rock like 10 plus times and it won't break open. And we'll be like, oh, well, this is worthless. It's not working. So like the same thing like with working out, right? We'll start to work out. We'll go for a couple weeks. Like, oh, we're not losing weight. Oh, we're not gaining muscle. I'm done. Oh, I'm eating healthier and I haven't lost anything. It's not worth my time. But yet, if we would continued with those daily actions, continued moving forward with those daily actions, we would have seen the results. So that's why I brought this one up, because it's a big thing that I think a lot of us don't really focus on, and it's not really talked about that often. And I think it's really important that we start to think this way, right? And this is part of the long-term thinking instead of short-term thinking. You're not going to get these instant gratification results. You're not going to instantly lose 20, 30 pounds unless you're doing something that's probably unhealthy for you. And then you'll become more unhealthy. And the main goal of losing that weight is become healthier, right? It's not just to lose the weight. And I think that's important. So start to focus on those individual small daily actions, like get your big goals, and that's good. And then make out a list of saying, what daily actions do I need to take to get there? And then literally focus on those daily actions every day. And then before you know it, you'll have that big goal attained. Okay, the next thing you need to do, and this kind of touched on this on a couple of different times now, to make 2023 the best year yet, is to focus on long-term thinking. And long-term thinking can literally change your life because, for instance, we can, if we're thinking short-term, we may be like, okay, I'm just going to work. It's worked all day. I just need to relax. I just need to drink some alcohol, watch Netflix, play video games, do whatever. And we do that every single day because we're thinking short term. We're not thinking long term. We just need to relax, right? The fact of the matter is, if we keep going at that lifestyle, nothing's going to change, and we're going to be stuck in that cycle of needing to relax, and then we're going to get burnt out, and really we're going to have nothing to show for what we've been doing. But if we use that free time instead to relax, we use it to work on a side job. We use it to start applying to a different job. We use it to start learning, to read a book, to work out, to do things like that, to spend time outside, to meet friends, to network. If we use our time on that, then we can actually change where we are. So we don't need to relax every day because we're working a job we dislike. We don't need to escape from our job or our life anymore. And that's what is so important. We got to think long term. What are you building yourself into? Are you building yourself into the life that you want? Or are you going to keep yourself stuck where you are? Think like 5 years down the line, or even just like 1 year down the line. If you keep doing the things you're doing now, are you going to get to where you want? And we can go back to the daily actions. If you keep taking the same daily actions you are now that you have been for this for 2022, are you going to be moving towards something better, or are you going to be stuck and you're going to get more of the same, or maybe even something worse because the things you've been taking are leading you down a bad path? And if you want to start getting out of short-term thinking, you can start to be more conscious of what you are thinking, and be aware and start to write down things down in a journal, things like that. I think it's also important to note that caffeine activates our flight or flight response system. And remember what happens when our flight or flight response system is activated? Our subconscious mind is going to start taking over. It doesn't matter if it's actual threat or perceived threat. It doesn't matter if it's from caffeine. It's going to start taking over, and we're start thinking more short term. And I know a lot of people are literally caffeinated every single day. I don't drink caffeine. And there's a big reason why, because it does have a big effect on your brain just in general. So there's a book behind me called Caffeine Blues by Stephen Cherninsky. I really highly recommend you read this book if you want to make 2023 the best year yet, and you are really stuck in your ways of caffeine, because this book will really help you realize just how much caffeine really does affect you. And if you don't want to read it and you just want to try something out on your own, try giving up caffeine for at least a month and then see how you feel. I bet you'll see that you have a lot more energy. You're more clear-minded. You don't have a brain fog, and you start to be able to think long term. And you may get actually some caffeine withdrawals, and so you be careful with that, because you can get some heavy migraines and things like that. I've heard. I never actually had any caffeine withdrawals, because I wasn't that big of a caffeine. I wasn't that big into caffeine. I did have some energy drinks when I was working a night shift, but luckily I was never that big into coffee. So, start to look into that kind of information. And that's going to bring me to one of my other points towards the end of this. But, start to think long term. Start to avoid the things that are putting you in the short term thinking. Caffeine, fear. So turn off the news, because news is pretty much a 24/7 fear buffet. Really, they're really trying to activate your fear response, and that activates your flight or flight response, which makes it so you're not thinking logically anymore. You're thinking illogically. You're thinking short term, and so be aware of when you're in fear, when you are stressed out, because a lot of times when we're stressed out, that can be somewhat similar to being fear. And if you're using words like "this is the worst thing that's ever happened," or like things like that would essentially, or like "this is killing me," that might activate your flight or flight response system too, because you are literally telling your mind that you're in a situation where you might be dying, where you are fearful of it. So be careful with the things you're telling yourself. Be careful how you're setting yourself up for, in your life, in your health, in your thinking. So start thinking long term there. The next thing you should know if you're going to make 2023 the best year yet is to stop sedating your pain. Pain is there for a reason. So let me give you an example of this. For instance, if we didn't feel the pain when we put our hands on a hot stove, then we would burn our hand, and we would very likely damage our hand very, very badly, right? But we can feel that heat before we even get there, and we know, oh, we shouldn't do that. We're literally built to avoid pain, but the problem comes when we start to sedate our pain, when we start to use alcohol, marijuana, when we start to use drugs, ecstasy, cocaine, whatever your drug of choice is painkillers, oxycodone, whatever your drug of choice is, or if you're even sedating your or distracting yourself from pain. So playing video games all the time, um, scrolling through social media all the time, doing anything, binge watching Netflix to avoid facing your pain, um, that can have a very serious effect on you. Because if you allow yourself to feel that pain, then you're gonna have a motivation. You're gonna have a fire underneath your butt, and you're gonna want to get out of that pain. And so, let me give you a personal story with marijuana for me, because you know, marijuana. I used to be a heavy. I used to smoke a lot of pot. I used to smoke a lot of marijuana. I used to smoke every single day. I was literally high 24/7. Um, and I don't think marijuana is as bad as alcohol, personally. I think it does have some benefits. But one of the biggest problems with it for me, I know for me, and I've heard other people say the same, is that it allowed them to feel comfortable with where they were. And if you are exactly where you want to be, then that's fine. But if you need to be moving, if you need to have motivation, if you need to start getting out of the place you're at because you're not in a good place, if you are like broke, if you aren't happy with the job you're at, if you need to find someone to live with, if you need to find a partner, if you need any of these things, um, or if you're just feeling depressed or something like that, then marijuana is really not going to be your friend a lot of the time, because it may temporarily help, but then the day, once that wears off, you're still in the same spot. You haven't done anything, and you've just allowed yourself to live with that pain. And that pain will be there forever unless you address it, addressing the root cause of it. And addressing the root cause of your pain is important. And the only way you can really know what the root cause of your pain is if you're going to face it and you stop sedating it. You face that pain. And what I think is JP Sears says, allow your pain train to run over you, and then let it roll back over you and over you again. And really feel it. Really feel why you are in pain. Really feel, come to understand, why that pain is there. Are you in pain because you're working a job that you dislike? Are you in pain because you're acting in a way that you don't like? Are you in pain because you're treating your body and your mind, are you abusing yourself essentially? um you know it's important to feel your pain, and that's something that I had to do. I haven't drank alcohol for 5 years, and I have been on and off with marijuana because for me that was harder to give up, because of that reason, that it allowed me to feel good with where I was. And what I have found is every time I've given it up, I've been able to make tremendous strides forward, but then every once in a while I'll go back to it and I'll notice myself start to slip back down, where I start to get comfortable with where I am. I stop moving forward anymore, and I just stay where I am, and I start to play video games. I start to do things more often, and I start to do things that will help me move forward in life, as much. And it is a big problem. So I have cut it out of my life now at this point because it was holding me back, and I really want to move forward. That is something that's really important to me, and that's why I'm confident that 2023 is going to be my best year yet. And I know that if you start to cut these things out, and you don't have to do all these things at once, but if you feel up to it, start to address these things, because these things, all the things I've talked about so far, can really change your life if you start to address them. But I think a big thing is stop sedating your pain, feel it in its full suckiness. And sometimes you just have to sit there and sit in a room and really think about what's going on, and let yourself feel it, and let yourself think about some of that stuff, so that you can use that motivation to move forward. That feeling of that pain, to say, I don't want to be here anymore. I want something better. I know I just deserve something better. I'm going to move forward in life. And then you let that fire start up underneath your butt, and you get moving. So the next one that I want to talk about, the next thing that you need to know, if you're going to make 2023 your best year yet, is that your health matters. Your health matters in all aspects of your life. Your health is not just, oh, if I get sick or I'm going to live a shorter life. Your health is affecting your relationships. Your health is affecting your job. Your health is affecting your financial situation, your confidence. Your health is affecting all areas of your life. So if you are not taking care of yourself, that's one of the major points of self-sabotage. That's one of the main ways you can start to take back your life, is to start addressing your health. And to do that is really to start focusing on eating actual food. So much of the food we have now is processed. So much of the food we have now has chemical additives in it. It's highly sprayed with pesticides and fungicides and herbicides. Things like Roundup, glyphosate is another name for it. So you need to, well, what I highly recommend doing is, if you're at the grocery store, read the labels of things. Start to understand what's in the food that you're consuming. If you don't know what something is, that's why you have a smartphone. That's why you can start to research. Look up and see what you're putting in your body. Are you putting red dye 40 in you? Are you putting in some other kind of chemical? Are you putting some kind of preservative in your body, right? All these things, a lot of these things are very actually not good for ours and are holding ourselves back. So, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to save some money and not buy the organic food. But if you start to think about it long term, what are you spending your money on? And what are you saving on? You're spending money on food that's going to lead you down a path where you're going to have, less energy. You're going to have more pain. You're going to have more possible depression, because a lot of depression is related to food, where we're not getting the nutrients we need, and we're not feeling good about ourselves. You might be getting more weight. You may start to be more toxic in your life. You may start to get more sick. You may start to develop a disease. So, are you willing to save a couple bucks so you can get all those other things that are not going to be very good down the line? Or would you rather spend a little bit of extra money now, start cutting out the money on the coffees and the alcohol and start putting it towards something better for yourself, towards actual food, some organic, nutrient dense food? Get some grass-fed steaks that don't have a bunch of antibiotics in it, that aren't, where the beef isn't like stored in like a factory setting where they're all have no room to feed and they're getting fed like roadkill and sawdust and things like that. You want to make sure they're getting actual food. The food you eat should be getting actual food. So like if you're eating meat, those animals need to be eating actual food, not sawdust and poison. And that's what a lot of the industrial farming and like the mass cattle farming and stuff like that, and like chicken farming and fish farming and things like that. That's what a lot of those things get fed, is just toxic pellets. And the reason why they do this is because, well, those toxic things fatten us up. And that is a big reason why a lot of us are obese, because we're eating these toxic ingredients. We're eating these toxic foods, and our bodies are really overloaded with toxins. So, let's touch on this really quickly because I think it's important. So, natural process for toxins going through our body, if they come in through our mouth, is going through our mouth, and they end up going and starting to get filtered out through our kidneys and our liver. But the thing is, if our kidneys and liver are overloaded with toxins, then our bodies will start to use those, to take those toxins and store them in fat cells. And if we don't have enough fat cells, our body will create more fat cells to protect ourselves. And what we'll do to protect these fat cells from getting toxins released from them is we'll start to take intracellular water, essentially water within the cells, and pull it to the outside to make it extracellular water. And this water on the outsides, we can see it in people's bodies just from the outside. So you can see it when people get really flabby arms, when they get double chins, when they get things like that. That's the extracellular water that's protecting their fat cells because they're full of toxins. And so a big way, if you're trying to lose weight, is to start focusing on buying actual food, right? Eat what our ancestors ate. That's a big problem. Like I've talked about at the very beginning, we are the most advanced technology wise. We have the most ability to refrigerate foods. We have the most knowledge on growing foods that we've ever had, but yet we are the most sick, diseased, obese that we've ever been. And there's this really important, we need to address this sooner than later. And I think more people and more people are waking up to this fact. And that is amazing. And I really hope that you can start to think about this and, start to do your own research into it. Just because everyone else is doing something does not mean it's safe, especially in our society, unfortunately. Um, and mimicking them is not going to be the safest option, despite what your subconscious mind might think, right? You got to start thinking consciously about it. Start to be aware of what you're doing. Start be aware of the things you're saying. Start be aware of the things you're putting in your body. So, start to take back your health. Start to filter your water. Start to get 8 hours of sleep. Try to go to bed by 10:30. Try to wake up by 8 a.m. Get on a normal cycle with the circadian rhythm, which really just means going to bed with the sun and waking up with the sun as much as possible. So the next thing I want to talk about, actually, and get some exercise too, right? Because some of us have excuses. Oh, I don't have enough money for gym membership. I don't have enough time to work out. Even if you just take 5 to 10 minutes every day, which most of us have, you can do it while you're watching a TV show. Even do some push-ups, do some jumping jacks, do something to move your body and get your blood flowing. That's all it really takes. Go on a walk. That's so important. Go outside and get some actual fresh air, and we'll be talking about that in a moment. So my next thing that you should know if you're going to make 2023 the best year yet is getting actual relaxation time is important. And when I say actual relaxation time, a lot of us think that we're relaxing ourselves when we're drinking alcohol, when we're binge watching TV or something like that. But the problem is that these things usually stress ourselves out more. So when we're drinking alcohol, that's putting stress on our bodies. When we're going out to eat some kind of fast food, that's stressing out of our bodies. When we're smoking or do some kind of drug, that puts a stress on our bodies. And so we are like changing one stressor out for another, and that really just leaves our body with more stress, and we don't actually address the problem. So things you can actually do to start relaxing, you can start to do some meditation. You can start to take a nice bath. You can go on a walk. You can get outside. You can get some sunlight. You can do things like that that will actually help relax you. And I think that is important. And you don't have to cut out all TV shows or all video games or all these things. But you do need to realize that a lot of these things are actually not really good ways of relaxing. They're things that we tell ourselves that we're going to relax with, but at the end of the day, like think about this: like when some of us go on vacations, right? We say we need to relax. Oh, we need this vacation, but then we go on that vacation and we just drink the whole time. And when we get back, we have to recover from the vacation that we just had, because we literally just did a full-on assault on our body with usually food that's not very good. Usually we just drank the whole time. And so we left our bodies more stressed out than when we started. So that's a perfect example of how when we think we're relaxing ourselves, but at the end of the day, we're just leaving ourselves more stressed out. The next thing you should know if you're going to make 2023 the best year yet is spending time outside is important. All of our ancestors spent so much time outside, and it's been more recent that we've been spending a bunch of our time inside. Like when I'm at work at Wells Fargo, I'm like the only one who goes out on walks, from what I can tell. Maybe like one or two other people do. And I'm literally, because there's the only place to walk around my building is like around the parking lot. So I just walk around the parking lot and I almost never see anyone out there. Even when I go out there to have lunch, almost no one's out eating lunch. Maybe I'll see one person every once in a while, but most people sit inside. They sit at the desk. They sit and they don't move. They're not getting exercise. They're not moving their bodies. They're not getting any fresh air. They're not getting sunshine. And when they do go outside, they have themselves covered up. They have sunglasses on. They have their ear pods in. They're not even listening to the sounds of nature. Like they are completely like total 180 from our ancestors, and it does have a serious effect on us. So it's a good, and kind of touches point on the last two ones where, your health matters, and going outside is actually very healthy for you. It can actually help reduce your real, or sorry, it can help be reduce your stress and be a great way to relax yourself. So, get outside. Don't always have sunscreen on. And if you're gonna be outside for a long, long time, you can put some sunscreen on, but make sure you know what ingredients are in your sunscreen. There are healthier sunscreens. Not all sunscreens are made the same. Some sunscreens are literally just toxic, and we're absorbing all those toxic ingredients into our skin, and our skins are one of our biggest organs. So we are literally poisoning ourselves with that sunscreen, plus taking away the benefits of the sun because we're blocking it all out. We take that sun and we absorb it. We absorb it through our eyes, we absorb it through our skin, we create vitamin D. So it's important that we get that sunshine at least 10 to 15 minutes a day, is what I recommend. And I don't wear sunglasses at all anymore unless I can't see while driving. Then I'll put some sunglasses on. But other than that, I don't wear sunglasses anymore because I want to get as much sun into my eyes as possible. And another reason why getting sun in your eyes is important, and avoid wearing sunglasses, because that sunlight is actually helping your body create more serotonin. When we see that sunlight, our body, it sends a signal to our mind to create more serotonin, which is really our happy, alert chemical, compared to melatonin, which is more for like nighttime, getting sleepy, getting drowsy. And we start to produce that when things get darker. And just the same way, if you have a lot of bright screens on before you go to bed, you might be confusing your mind and sending the wrong signals, so you're not able to sleep as well. So make sure you are aware of the things that you're doing to yourselves, right? A lot of this has to do with being consciously aware, because so many of us are just operating from our subconscious mind programs that we're not even thinking about the things we're doing. We're not even thinking long term how these things are going to be affecting us, right? We're thinking short term. And the very last thing that you should know if you're going to make 2023 the best year yet is about investments. And the best investment you can make in your life, in my humble opinion, is an investment in yourself. An investment in yourself can look like many things. It can look like investing in some healthy, organic, nutrient dense foods, putting those in your body. It can look like spending some time working out. It can look like buying some books so you can learn more skills. You can look at buying a course and learning a new skill that way. It can look like getting enough sleep. It can look like taking some time to go on a walk or get some fresh air. It can look like so many different things, right? But investing in yourself is so, so important. And that's something I've started to do with more of my time. Instead of spending all my time playing video games, because that's on top of smoking and being high all the time, I used to just play video games with almost all my free time. You could ask my wife how much video games I used to play, and it was a lot. So I started to drastically reduce how much time I'm spending video games and high and getting drunk and things like that. I started to use my time towards building myself, so I have more skills, so I have more knowledge at my disposal. And another thing you can do to invest in yourself is to start learning more, right? Start to learn more about the ingredients in the foods. Start to learn more about the subconscious mind, about the conscious mind. Start to learn more about our society in general. Start to learn more about things you're putting on your body, in your body, the things you are taking, right? All these things have an effect on your health, on your mind, on your body, on your wealth, on all of it, on your relationships. A lot of this stuff is all interconnected. So the more of these things that you start to apply in your life, the more of these things that you start to become consciously aware of, the better, in my opinion. And if you find yourself overwhelmed with this stuff, if you find yourself sabotaging yourself, remember that is somewhat normal, because your subconscious mind is drawn to the familiar, right? It's seeking that safety. And if you're operating from your subconscious mind most of the time, that's really where the self-sabotage comes from, because you consciously, with your goals, your dreams, your desires, want one thing and you're moving towards it, and your subconscious mind wants another thing because it's trying to keep you safe. And then we hit that wall, and that's where the subconscious mind is like, whoa, we should be actually going back to our tribe now. We started to eat healthy, but we're really a part of the unhealthy tribe. We should move on back to that. And so what you need to know is you don't attack yourself. Stay consistent. Continue taking those small daily actions like we talked about. Continue thinking long term. Be aware of the things that you're saying. And if you really would like some assistance, and there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Actually, most of the people who I know who are the most successful in life have reached out and asked others for help. They've reached out and asked others so they can learn from what their mistakes were, so they can learn the information that they learned. They pretty much is another way to invest in yourself, right? By asking for help. That's, I think I attribute a lot of my success to me going out to other people and asking for help, for me investing in myself. So I really hope that if you are needing help, if you are struggling to make these changes that I've talked about, or you've tried making these changes for so long and you're stuck, you feel like there's something wrong with you, reach out for help. We can hop on a Zoom call. We can talk more about it. It won't cost you anything just to hop on a Zoom call, and we can have a little chat about what you're needing help with and what I could possibly offer you. So anyways, I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. Thank you for listening. Please please subscribe, please share this with other people. Please give me a comment. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. If you have any other ideas of what things you're going to be doing to make 2023 the best year yet, I'd love to hear them. Of course, this is not every single thing you can do, but these are really good solid points that you guys can use to start making your life better. So anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. Very grateful to have you all here. Very grateful for any likes, comments, or subscribes you guys give us. And I hope you all have a fantastic day. Once again, my name is Tanner Dagenais. You've been listening to Power Up Self-Sabotage Solutions. Self-Sabotage Solutions is really the name of the podcast. And this is going to be a great year. So guys, make sure you guys are moving towards the year and moving towards the life that you do want. Don't give yourself excuses. Start moving towards that life. Anyways, guys, have a good day, and thanks for listening.